Most people think talking about Mars in 2026 is delusional. They see exploding rockets, regulatory delays, lawsuits, cost overruns, and then they hear me say, we're still aiming to send Starship to Mars as early as the end of 2026. And they think I've lost it. From their perspective, it looks impossible. From mine, it's exactly when you double down. Right now, the realistic near-term target is not a glass dome city with palm trees on Mars. It's getting an uncrewed Starship there, and back in one piece. The current plan is simple to describe and brutally hard to execute. Use the next good Earth-Mars transfer window, roughly late 2026, to send at least one Starship on an uncrewed mission to Mars. That window opens every 26 months, when Earth and Mars line up in their orbits, so you can make the trip in about 7-9 months, instead of an insanely expensive, long detour. In public, I've put it at something like a 50-50 chance that we hit the 2026 attempt. If Starship is not ready, meaning the vehicle isn't reliable enough, fully reusable enough, or we're blocked by regulators, then the plan is to wait 2 years and try in the next window. SpaceX's own Mars pages talk about launching the first Starships to Mars in 2026 as data-gathering missions for entry, descent, landing, and early cargo. That's the short-term reality. One or a handful of robotic Starships, probably carrying cargo, sensors, and maybe even Optimus robots as a simulated crew, making the first serious attempt to land and operate on Mars. The long-term vision is far crazier. The goal is not a cool Mars landing. The goal is a city. I've talked for years about building a fleet of around 10 Starships, launching as many as 3 per Dalton Y during favorable windows, and using them to move up to 1 million people, and the equipment needed to build a self-sustaining city on Mars by around 2050. The idea is to load Starships into Earth orbit, wait for the Earth-Mars window, and then send the entire fleet in a 30-day migration every 26 months, carrying megatons of cargo, and eventually people. The target is a self-sustaining city, not a flag, not a base that needs constant resupply from Earth, but a place that can grow its own food, build its own infrastructure, and survive even if Earth has serious problems. That's the 20-30-year view. So why keep betting on it, when the short term looks like a series of explosions? If you look at Starship's recent history, you see a pattern: ambitious test, spectacular failure, FAA investigation, dozens of required fixes, delayed license, new test, repeat. Missteps on the pad damaged the launch site, engines failed mid-flight, stages lost control, and broke apart high over the ocean. Each time, the FAA mandated dozens of corrective actions. One report required 63 different fixes, from hardware redesigns to stricter design reviews and operational changes. That's not a quick paperwork patch. It's months of extra engineering and millions of extra dollars. Every failure adds another layer of regulatory overhead. You can't fly again until the investigation closes, the corrective actions are implemented, and the FAA signs off that you've actually addressed the root causes. For investors and outsiders, it looks like a never-ending drag: more cost, more delay, more risk. So why keep pushing? Because the mission hasn't changed. Make life multiplanetary. If you accept the premise that humanity faces non-zero existential risk on a single planet, from natural disasters, engineered pandemics, AI gone wrong, or just geopolitical stupidity, then building a second branch of civilization somewhere else isn't just a cool project. It's insurance on a species-level timescale. Every Starship failure is painful for teams, budgets, and my reputation. But compared to the cost of remaining permanently vulnerable on one planet, it's a rounding error. That's why Starship is a pure example of mission TUI. Ego, quarterly results. Quarterly Starship is a mess, cost overruns, no revenue yet, lots of risk. For ego, the explosions are embarrassing. Live-streamed rapid unscheduled disassemblies are meme fuel for critics. But for the mission, every test, even the fiery ones, moves the ball forward. Better understanding of high Mach aerodynamics, thermal protection, engine reliability, reusability paths. Quitting, because people on the internet think you're crazy, is not an option when the alternative is never having a backup plan for civilization. People ask, what makes you so sure this will actually work? Everyone else says, it's impossible. The honest answer, I'm not sure. I've said publicly, there's maybe a 50-50 chance of making that first uncrewed Mars shot in 2026. The chance of the entire 1 million person city working by 2050 is even lower if you look at it probabilistically. But you don't aim at Mars because it's guaranteed. You aim at Mars because not trying is guaranteed failure. That's the same mental model that applied to reusable rockets. For decades, people said, you can't land a first stage on a barge. It's too complex, too risky, too expensive. We built Falcon 9 anyway. There were crashes, there were failed landings. Then it worked, again and again, and now reusability is just how rockets should work. Starship and Mars are that logic pushed to its limit. Is it insane to try to build fully reusable, super heavy rockets and a Mars city? Yes. Is it more insane than accepting that humanity will stay fragile on one rock forever? Number, the part that matters for you is not whether you personally care about Mars. It's the mindset behind betting on something that will take decades, through failure after failure. While everyone calls it impossible, most people think in 20-day goals. What can I do this month? That looks good. What can I post this week? That goes viral. Starship and Mars force you to think in 20-year missions. What am I willing to suffer for? Be wrong about, iterate on, for decades. If you want a Mars-level dream in your own life, start with that question. A Mars-level dream has a few characteristics. It still matters in 20-30 years. If it works, it meaningfully changes your world or other people's. It is hard enough that the default reaction from strangers is, that's unrealistic. It might be building a company that fundamentally changes an industry. It might be becoming one of the top people in the world at a crucial skill. It might be creating infrastructure or institutions that outlive you. The specifics are your choice. The pattern is the same. Then you have to accept the Starship law. Failure is the path, not the enemy. Every explosion, every regulatory delay, every cost overrun is unpleasant. But taken together, they are the tuition for a future where Starship actually works. In your life that will look like projects that flop, years where progress feels invisible, people telling you to be realistic and pick something easier. The thing most people get wrong is that they want Mars-level impact with weak indelible commitment. They'll say they want to change their field, but their planning horizon is a couple of months. They want a self-sustaining business, but they quit after one rough year. If you want to copy anything from this Mars bet, copy this. Pick one mission big enough that it scares you and excites you. Give it a 20-year window, not a 20-day or 20-week one. Expect at least a decade of failures and rewrites along the way. Most people dramatically overestimate what they can do in a month and underestimate what they can do in 20 years. So why am I still betting on Mars in 2026? Because the window is open, because the hardware is finally approaching the scale we need, because the regulatory and technical hurdles, while painful, are tractable, and because waiting for a perfect time to build a backup civilization is the same as deciding never to do it. If the 2026 uncrewed mission slips, we go in 2028. If some of the early cargo missions fail, we fix what broke and launch again. This isn't a product launch with a neat timeline. It's a civilizational experiment that will outlast anyone complaining about timelines on social media. Your life won't involve landing rockets on Mars, but you do have your own planet. You're either willing to build or not. So ask yourself, what is the one Mars-level mission you are willing to fail at for a decade? What is the thing that will still matter to you in 2046? Even if you get laughed at in 2026. If you can answer that honestly and then live like it's your transfer window, making steady, sometimes messy progress instead of waiting for perfect conditions, you'll be much closer to building something that actually deserves to exist. Most people will keep aiming for 20-day goals. A few will quietly pick their own Mars and start building the ship. Be one of those people.